Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voices of Daytime. I'm your host, Tami Goveia. Now, in 1993, Eva LaRue, she joined All My Children as Dr. Maria Santos, which was just so amazing for the Hispanic community at that time because there was no representation in daytime television for that community. Then in 2005, she joins the cast of CSI Miami as Natalia Boavista and is the first hired major Latina character in the entire CSI franchise at the time. Now today, in her documentary, My Nightmare Stalker, the Eva LaRue Story, she has taken on perhaps her most personal role, and that is as an advocate for stalking victims and for harsher sentencing. Today, we have Eva LaRue and her daughter, Kaya Callahan, in studio to talk about the absolutely horrific experience of having been stalked for 12 years, what that looked like, the ramifications, and how they're doing today. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being here. It was an interesting moment when Anthony connected with me about the docuseries, My Nightmare Stalker, the Eva LaRue Story, dropping this past November. Mm-hmm. And then there was the possibility of being able to chat with you about the docuseries, and which was phenomenal. Yeah, I'm also...
And this is perfect timing because it's Stalker Awareness Month this month in January.
Mm-hmm. Perfect timing. And, the podcast is Voices of Daytime. So clearly the show spotlights the daytime community and soap operas and the talent in front of and behind the camera and that all that good stuff. There was a moment when I was giddy with, yay, we can do this. But at the same time, seeing the two of you make all these appearances to talk about the docuseries, I had a very strong sense of they have to talk about this absolutely horrific experience, part of their lives, over and over and over again. And a part of me didn't want to contribute to that. Mm-hmm. So I had to figure it out.
Figure out your come from. Time is like, I have friends and family like, you must be so excited. You met Oprah. You got to speak with Gayle King. And I'm like, no, it is great, but it's not like I'm promoting a book. And it's not like I'm like promoting something fun. It's something that's so horrendous. And then you have to kind of put it in the back of your mind a bit and be able to compartmentalize, but also create sound bites out of your trauma, which is a really interesting new skill I feel like I've gained.
I know what a soundbite is, but...
Yeah, but like taking like 12 years of trauma and having to soundbite into, and I was, just knowing like bullet point facts.
The cliff notes.
Yeah,
Am I dating myself? Or are there even cliff notes?
No, they really are, yeah. The
exactly.
little asterisk notes because you only have so much time to tell the story and you want to hit the highlights.
And that's the one part. Yeah, you're hitting highlights on your own most traumatizing story, but also there is a way to do it, especially in the entertainment industry. You always only have a few seconds to keep someone engaged. So it's been a weird time.
And you want to keep people engaged over a subject that is not engaging. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like,
or it is
for us,
because
it's interesting, but for us, it was a debilitating time. Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to do this docuseries, and why now?
That's a really good question. Because originally we weren't going to do a documentary. Because so many, you don't want to give this psycho the satisfaction of getting all of the spotlight that he originally wanted. You don't want to be tied to this person in perpetuity, in the media. And you don't want to poke the bear. right? So I see now why so many celebrities have never done a documentary or really talked about their stalker, because once this person's attention is off of you, you're so and because you haven't really told anybody what's going on. Like, we never spoke in the press about this ever until the docuseries. A lot of our family members, I mean, they all knew what was going on, but I don't think anybody really knew the extent of how we were terrorized. Because when something like this goes over the course of 12 years, you stop talking about it. You're very alone in it because you feel like maybe, the crime hasn't, the crime as it's being adjudicated as it stands right now has not happened. Now, I think the crime should be the menacing. The threatening of death should be the crime, period. You should go to jail for that. That's what you should be able to get right now as it stands, unless somebody breaks into your house or somebody lays hands on you, that's the only crime that they can arrest somebody for or even give you a restraining order for. But the crime should be the actual menacing, the actual death threats, and you should get to go to jail for that. And hopefully that's what we're working on now. Hopefully that will be the way of the future. But the reason back to your question, the reason we decided to do the documentary is because the 2 FBI agents who solved our case, they created a brand new forensics genealogy technology by solving the Golden State Killer case. Mm-hmm. And they created this DNA technology over the course of a couple of years while working on that case. And the FBI said to them, this is a fluke. It's just you'll never replicate it. It's not a technology. And so the very next case they picked up was ours.
For a stalker case.
For a stalker case. And they solved it. But it was so DNA heavy because we had, over the course of 12 years, we had hundreds of letters with all of his DNA on him, his fingerprints, he licked the envelopes. There was tons of DNA. So they picked up our case, and our case ended up being the first ever adjudicated case by the FBI with this new technology. And what they've done is so incredible. It really changes the way that local law enforcement, that all law enforcement move forward in the future, because now, because of them, there will no longer, eradicated from the vernacular will be the word serial killer or serial rapist, because now they will catch you in one. You won't be able to kill many. You won't be able to kill 50. 43, I think, was the Golden State Killer. Killed like 43 women. So we thought it was really important to tell the story. Their story, really, because they're the heroes.
Again, so much that triggers. So many voices that have been silenced. Mm-hmm. Women's voices that have been silenced. Mm-hmm.
It's a very lonely crime.
It's a very isolating experience. Mm-hmm. And therein just piles on the pain. And
the fear.
And the fear, yes. Tell us how this started. You were working on CSI Miami at the time.
Yeah, I was in my second year there.
Second year. You joined in 2005 and you received the first letter in 2007.
In 2007. Okay. Kaya was 5 at the time. And the first letter came to my publicist, Anthony Turk, and who's still my bestie. And we've been working together for 25 years because while I was pregnant with you. And he got and at the time he would get, the bags of letters from the set, and he would he'd open kind of every 10th letter just to make sure that they were all and they were all lovely. They were all, to this point, even all through All My Children and CSI those first 2 years, it's mostly, we're a fan of the show. Can you send me an autographed picture? And he happened to open this letter, and somebody asked us this question just recently. We didn't even think about it. How many letters do you think came before you read the first one? And we were like, oh,
especially
my God,
because
I don't even know.
Talked about in the docuseries, the psychologist, was it?
Yeah.
Where she said that there's such a step process of where at first, you know, it's
The profiler.
it's flirting, you know, or they, you know, they're just sending you, you know, I love your work, I love you, like, be mine, be my girlfriend. And, you know, and then it's the rejection of it that then it turns violent and threatening. And because she had just gotten that letter where it was directly violent and threatening, we were like, oh, wow, I wonder how many were just regular fan, you know, I love your work, please send me an autograph.
It just flew under the radar.
Yeah. How many years or how much time went by before we saw it turn?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really
And how many
interesting.
letters didn't get opened?
Yeah. True.
Yeah. I mean, after opening that first one, though, we could read that scrawl, that writing from a mile away for the next 12 years. And then the FBI would come and pick them up. And so they would have as little handling as possible. At one point, they got a hit on a postal worker, poor postal worker.
Poor postal man.
Because his fingerprints were all over it. So I guess that was one of the ones that they ran, because all the letters went to Quantico, and they were running them for DNA and for prints. But having worked on CSI Miami, the only DNA database for all law enforcement up until the advent of 23andMe and Ancestry and all these things was CODIS. And so on CSI Miami, everybody's in CODIS. We always get our man at the end of 43 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in reality, none of us are in CODIS. It's the only people who are in CODIS are, 80% of them are already incarcerated because it's rapists and murderers. And that's when they take your DNA, they swab your DNA. And the rest are John Doe rape kits, people who haven't been named yet because they didn't have priors, so they're not in CODIS. But their DNA is in CODIS, waiting for them to get picked up and put a name to the DNA. And then cut to 12 years later, and there were these databases with regular people's DNA. And I just want to clarify that a lot of people think, oh my gosh, as soon as I put my DNA into Ancestry or GEDmatch or 23, everybody's going to have my law enforcement, FBI, CIA, the government, Trump himself. They'll all have my DNA information, and they'll all be able to. And the insurance companies, absolutely not true. So
That's good to know.
yeah,
Because that is the first thing you think of.
Yeah, it is absolutely not true. If you're going into these databases to find out, I am, 14% Cherokee and 10% German or whatever. None of your information it's like a vault. But when you check the box that says, I want to find other family members, now you have made your DNA public. Correct. So that other family members can find you. It's still, the insurance companies still can't access it. But now law enforcement can, because it's not that they are like, hey, 23andMe, can you give me, they don't. What they do is they upload the DNA that they have into the database, just like you or I would. And what they get back is a third cousin or a fifth cousin. And now they do the literal gumshoe knocking on doors. Hey, and they said they have never had anybody not want to help them. They'll literally knock on a door. Hi, FBI. Your third cousin is a serial killer. Can you help us figure out who it is? Because, they've got this family tree. Now they've X'd out all the branches. They've gotten down to these last, 8 leaves on the branch. And they've got to go one by one to find out, okay, well, which one was committing the crime in the area, who lives in that area right. of the family members, who is a male, who is a whatever, all whatever they know. And they said they've never had a family member say no.
I know,
because you'd be fascinated. Yeah. Who in your family? And sure enough, you'd probably be like, I knew
never.
It. Creepy old,
or it's just the opposite.
Creepy Uncle Vic. I knew it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was always a creep. A little weird. Yeah, he was always a weirdo. Now he's got bodies in his backyard. So yeah, that's
point is.
Yeah, the point is, you're safe putting your if you're not a criminal,
there is still
you're
privacy.
good.
Yeah, there is still a sense of privacy.
Yeah. But you are at the end of the day also possibly helping other people.
Right.
Like us.
Catch criminals.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned, Kaya, earlier in this that the letter, that first letter that was read, you took very seriously.
Oh, yeah. She didn't know. She was 5.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, she didn't even really know about the letters until she was about 10. I don't know if you knew specifically that there were letters. You knew because I had to make you aware.
I knew they were letters at like between 10 to 12. I knew they were letters. I just had never read them. Thank God, honestly.
Didn't let her know the contents.
And I didn't know, there were letters I really didn't know the contents of until I watched the docuseries ourselves, which was in October.
And didn't want those words living in her head.
Yeah. So
ever.
Yeah, but I feel like through the years I've learned more information probably than I ever really wanted to, and now it's something that I can't remove. But I'm grateful that I didn't know fully in my childhood, but obviously there was always that.
It's difficult enough to process it now.
I had to make her very aware that somebody, it was an amped up version of stranger danger.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that it was somebody specific, not just be careful, don't talk to strangers. It was have your head on a swivel. Somebody specific actively wants us.
Mm-hmm.
In the docuseries, you're very transparent about what was written. And I think for viewers or listeners who haven't seen the docuseries, it's important as much as I don't want to.
Yeah, I know.
But what kind of graphic nature are we talking about in these letters?
So graphic. And so heinous and sickening and
violent
and beyond violent, like literally like a horror movie. He wanted, to kidnap us both. He wanted to hold us as sex slaves. He wanted to, dismember her in front of me or me in front of her or gut me like a fish or,
So was this always directed at the two of you or?
It was also directed for a while at my husband at the time. We're since divorced, but at the time he got specific letters to him as well. And unfortunately, by the time we went to court, there was a statute of limitations on those, and it had been past 7 years. So his letters didn't, because otherwise I think he would have gotten more time. And also there was an actress from One Life to Live, a young actress, who was getting the letters because her mom called me and said, "Are you getting letters from this Freddy Krueger? Because he mentions you in the letters to my daughter." And I'm just not going to say who because it's not my story to tell, and because in the end she didn't want to come forward to be part of the case. I don't know if because her letters were also outside the statute of limitations, or if because he had stopped writing her and she just wants it to be over. You know what I mean? You just don't want to poke the bear. You just want them to forget you ever existed. So I don't know her reasons, but and so I'm guessing there were other people too. But he would have gotten more time.
But wasn't the maximum sentencing 5 years?
The maximum was 7.
Was 7? Mm-hmm. Even that, Eva.
He should have gotten 3.5 and 3.5. They lumped us together as though a child. And he threatened her school at the end when the whole thing dovetailed at the end, and he found her school in her senior year. Pretended to be her dad, John Callahan, and pretended to be her dad and said, "Stand out in front of the school. I'm gonna pick you up after school today." And then and that whole climax of the story happened overnight when he realized he found her school, and he was so thrilled with himself. Overnight, he left 19 messages detailing everything that he'd said in the letters, as grotesque, as depraved as they were. He's 19 messages on the school, and then also saying he would kill any administrator, teacher, or child that got in his way. So he threatened a school. He threatened everybody at that school, right. And he only got 3.5 years. They didn't even take into consideration, I don't think, the threatening of...
I talked about it in my my victim impact statement, but I don't.
Yeah, but I don't think he took that into. I mean, that alone should have. You can't call a school and threaten an entire school.
So why do you think it wasn't? Why wasn't that?
Because it was a stalking case, and because he didn't lay hands on us, so it doesn't count that you can terrorize somebody and have them live in absolute fear for,
How did you compartmentalize this? You're working.
I don't
you
know
have a
the how.
You just do.
Yeah, you just do because
Sheer force.
by sheer mental force, because there's still so much joy in your life. There's just so much. There's so much to be happy for. There's so many beautiful moments in life. Always, we just focused on that, and then when we would be kind of torn out of that by the highlights of all of the ups and downs of it, we just, until something really terrifying happened, which would happen off and on all during the years, we just would keep it, and we really didn't talk about it.
Like at all.
Yeah.
None of my friends knew. Well, actually only a handful of my friends knew, but after like years of knowing them, and it wasn't until really this, and a lot of my friends were like, What? And when? And I was like, haha, my whole life.
Yeah.
But you just kind of try to make every day okay.
What I find fascinating is the victimization of women in stalking cases. Men's reaction to the docuseries as opposed to women's reaction. They're very different.
Mm-hmm.
Very different.
Mm-hmm.
My husband watched the show.
What was his take?
He was livid. Get me 5 minutes alone with this guy. It was that kind of.
I have had men. It's lovely. You know what? It's so vindicating.
It is, because
it's so lovely to hear the men come out and want to protect.
Oh,
you know what I mean? There's something so glorious about that they're like, oh, don't we know where he lives now?
Yeah, right,
don't we know?
right.
Yeah, and it's like, we do.
There's ways of making this happen.
We do. And I can't, I'm not a vengeful person, but I love that men's reaction has been, I got this for you. I got this for you. So that's like a really beautiful feeling. But I also, it's so funny because, you read all of the comments on some of these interviews, like the printed interviews and stuff. And just being, by way of being a human, we read 100 really great comments, and it's the one dumb comment that sticks out to you.
It's the actor. It's the actor part. It's that one
one stupid comment. And it was a guy. And he said, don't watch this piece of crap. It's so overly dramatic and so sappy and so overly drama. And I was like, oh, until it's your wife or girlfriend or your daughter who's somebody that somebody wants to kill and gut like a fish and leave them on your doorstep. Until it's you, we didn't make it dramatic enough.
Honestly.
You were not living in our psyche, you know what I mean? Like in our bodies during that time. It absolutely rewires all of your being. Do you know what I mean? You're just wired now for a head on a swivel. And so the first part of me was like, indignant. And the other part of me was like, I actually feel sorry for this dude because, I don't hope that this happens to him. I don't even know who he is, but if, 13.5 million men, women, and children are stalked every year, and that's just in the United States. So pretty good chance that either you or somebody somebody within 6 degrees of separation is going to get stalked. And I hope it's not somebody he's real close to, because he's going to find out the true feeling, the real fear where you feel. I've had so many people. I was just at the airport the other day, and I was waiting for a flight, and this woman, I started talking with this young, beautiful woman. She started telling me about her stalker, and how she had to move, and how she made her life really small, and she used to promote her business. She quit her business. He knew everywhere she worked. He would show up everywhere. It made her live so small for so many years just because she needed to hide. And that finally he committed suicide. And she said, no one's ever happy about that kind of, mental health complete breakdown, but it really is the only time you'd actually feel truly free. Because it is a mental health problem. It's not just, oh, they're just like a crazed fan. Well, crazed is crazed. And we also know that of all the women that were murdered in the United States last year, 86% of them were stalked first. 86%. So we know that stalking escalates to rape and it escalates to murder. So we can't keep pretending like it's just, oh, they're just obsessed with that person. No, the obsession, I mean, it morphs. And because we know that our stalker started with watching all my children and was, and started obsessively watching my scenes again and again. He'd tape them and rerun them. And then cut to 5 years later, I'm on CSI Miami, and it's escalated to he wants to do all these things and to Kaya.
So do you think going from daytime to primetime made some kind of impact? Because you talked about when you hit primetime, I mean, it changed everything for you. Exposure-wise, I mean, it's a different level.
It really was a different level. I don't know, because I think, I really just do think that mental health breakdown became exacerbated and morphed and escalated. I think that's really just the way of it, right?
It's a chronic condition.
It's not going to get better. Right. It's going to get worse. And now that he's released already from prison and he's on probation for 3.5 years, and for this whole time he's had to stay on meds. He told us in court that he wished he'd been caught earlier because he wished that he'd had the mental health care that, earlier, and he wished that he'd been on meds earlier and all of these things. Yeah, us too, dude. But we wish that for you as well. Mm-hmm. But what's to keep him on his meds now that he's out? What's to keep him showing up to his... Nothing.
So he was identified when?
He was identified in November 2019.
2019. Talk about that phone call that you get saying, we have the guy.
Yeah.
We know who he is.
Were
you alone? Were you at work?
We were together.
Yeah.
We were at home.
We were together because I had been taken out of school for 2 days at that point. 2 to 3.
Because we thought he found her school.
Because he had called my high school. And at that point, I couldn't go back to school because he had already threatened to do so many things. So, in those moments too, we were like, okay, am I going to have to switch schools? Am I going to have to be homeschooled? Am I going to have to uproot my entire senior year and my entire life? But yeah, no, when we got that call, we were together, and it was just like...
We were waiting.
Almost unbelievable.
To hear from the FBI, because we were waiting to see... were they going to wait at the school? Was the FBI going to wait at the school for him to show up? We didn't know what was happening, so we were waiting to get that call. And when Steve Bush did call, he was the lead on our case, and he said, we were hoping to call you and tell you this in a couple of days. He said, I really wanted to make the call. He said, we had no idea this whole school thing was going to happen. Mm-hmm. He said, just, rest assured, we have eyes on him. Even though he said he was here in California, he's not. He's in Ohio. There are FBI boots on the ground watching his house right now, staking him out. And because they have to really dot their I's and cross their T's, it's not enough to just say, we have your DNA, we know it's you. They have to wait for you to throw out something that has your DNA on it, and then match the
going through the garbage.
Right, to make the arrest, which is what they did. And so so they were waiting for that moment, and he said, we really wanted to call you in 2 or 3 days and say, we got him. And he said, but then all this happened, and he said, and I just want you to know, because we know you're waiting. You're afraid to even be in your house because you don't know if he followed you home from the school. Mm-hmm. So he said, we just want you to know we don't have him yet, but we will in the next couple of days, and we'll let you know. And he said, I'm getting on a plane actually now and going to Ohio. And yeah, it was unbelievable. I don't even know how to describe what a weight, because at that...
Yeah, 12 years of relief, but also where you're you're still not, you don't want to like jinx it.
You don't
want to jinx it. So you're not fully.
It's like, well, what if something happens?
What if? Yeah.
Yeah.
What if he's not the match?
Right,
what if?
right.
Yeah. What if he runs?
What if he
now
runs
we know
or
he couldn't.
escapes or
Yeah.
You get the call. They have their eyes on him, and now you've got to wait to go to trial. It's not a trial.
Well, the interesting thing about working with the FBI is it's not like local law enforcement where they've got to now start working on the case. They've got to start doing all of the actual detective work and putting together the pieces of the case. When the FBI gets you, they already have you dead. They've already been watching you. They already have the information. They've been putting the case together for years, and then they come get you. So once the FBI's got you, you're already dead to rights. There's no really haggling. There's no plea deals. They don't do plea deals at the FBI. That's a local law enforcement.
But they did do a plea deal because of his mental
No,
state.
he tried. He tried
to do a plea deal.
He tried to say he was crazy. He tried to, and they were like, "Yeah, no. You kept a regular job. You worked as a nurse at a memory care facility,
Which
you
in
weren't
and of
crazy.
itself is horrifying.
Yeah, right.
To know that there were so many vulnerable people.
Yes, who couldn't remember what could have happened to them. Yeah. Well, not only that, but that there were family members that actually loved him and were like so grateful for him to take care of their. Like, this is a monster living amongst us, right? That you wouldn't know. That you're like, oh, what a great guy he is. He's taking care of my mom or my dad or my grandmother or my family member. He's wonderful. In the meantime, who knows what he's up to in the dark.
So he was sentenced for what? How long?
3.5 years?
3.5 years. 12 years of stalking, and he gets 3.5 years. And he didn't serve those 3.5 years.
Well, he had house arrest during COVID. He was off the plate for 3.5 years, but he ended up only going to jail, I think, for 2 of those years, 2.5, 2.5 of those years, and 1 year he was under house arrest during COVID.
Where did he serve? What jail?
I actually don't know.
Yeah, I have no.
I didn't care to know. Yeah. I could have known. We could have known. I didn't want to know anything about.
Other than he's been arrested, he's behind bars.
And it was the first time, and Kaya even speaks to this, it was the first time you really felt...
Oh, like at peace. Like I could, I was going to college at the time, and it was amazing to walk around publicly and make friends and
post as you want.
Yeah, post and do what I wanted, without the paranoia or fear that someone was gonna find me. It was a great time in my life. Yeah, I loved it.
He's out.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any kind of monitoring going on of him? And
he's on probation,
taking his meds, like any kind of.
We don't know that.
You don't know.
They don't let you know what's going on with them. So even though you're the victim, there's no real. Yeah, you don't know.
They can know everything about us, and he did try to know everything about us, and we can't know anything about him.
Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, when they first released him, they released him 10 miles from our house. He'd never been in California before. They give him a little paid vacation to live here in California, just 10 miles from us. Crazy.
When did you find that out?
Immediately, because I have to tell you when they're releasing somebody. But it took us 3 months, and just as we were starting to shoot the documentary, took us 3 months of lobbying his superior parole officer, and our U.S. attorneys helped us do that, and our FBI agents helped us do that. I had to lobby everybody to get him sent back to Ohio.
And is that what happened?
Yeah, thank God. But
Yeah.
still, it was 3 months where he
was
he
living
had, an ankle monitor, but on Mondays you get the ankle monitor off. Ankle monitor free Mondays, and he could,
Is that true?
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
No, I don't think they ever get to take it off.
Yeah, on Monday he would be able to go.
What?
Yeah, you told me that.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think you get to just take it off.
No, I thought Mondays peace. I thought there was a whole thing about how on Mondays he was able to travel farther than he wanted, or
No, I think what it is once a week he has to check in with the probation officer, but for the rest of the week, you can do whatever right. I don't know how
you can be good for that one day if you've got to check in with the probation officer.
But they always say like how much are they actually catching you when you're out of your probation zone? I mean, he doesn't have an ankle monitor. He's on probation. He's out of jail. All he has to do now is check in once a week. He could be anywhere else in the middle of the week and no one would really know.
So how do you feel right now?
I mean, you know, I don't want to alarm my child, but I don't know that I don't know when and if we'll ever really feel safe. How? It's not like he's better. His mental health issues didn't vanish. Who's to keep him on his drug? We all know people who are taking, you know, medication for whatever issues, and they go off them all the time, or they change them. We just saw what happened with Rob Reiner. They said his son was in the middle of changing medication and they were trying new medications and it literally sent him over the edge. And then we hear these stupid commercials on television saying, oh, take this one to help your antidepressant be better. And the side effects are suicide.
They're horrific.
Or murderous thoughts.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
or worse depression.
Or worse depression, yeah. What?
So we're talking about living in a society that really feeds the monster.
Well, it protects the monster.
Well, which allows them to exist,
feed and grow,
continue,
feed and grow.
Mm-hmm. And I had mentioned this to the both of you earlier before we started the show of me trying to figure out why am I so triggered about this, and then drilling it down to how psychological terror, which is what the two of you experienced, isn't taken as seriously or even close to be taken seriously as physical violence or physical torture.
Right.
Okay, because psychological torture is what the two of you experienced and are experiencing. So I want to talk about this argument that's out in the world, especially between here in the States and abroad. The international community takes this very seriously. And I said to you, had this happened in the international world or oceans or land, the sentencing would have been 15 to 20, if not even harsher than that. And when I started doing the research on why that is, it all boils down to, especially here in the States, if you can't see it, it's not taken seriously. If someone's not murdered, if a woman's not murdered, they're not raped. You know, the system needs to be able to see physical results of what it is you're saying has happened.
And even so, look at DV, look at domestic violence. That can go on for years, and they get very minimal slaps on the wrist. And they're being beaten and abused constantly, and they're still not taken seriously. And it still takes forever to get a restraining order. And you have to hit this bar to get a restraining order. And then nobody's monitoring the restraining orders. So people are still being killed. These women are still being killed by their abusers because they just jump the restraining order and show up at your house, and then the cops don't show up. You know, like.
So here's an argument used by torture survivors, trauma psychologists, legal scholars, that severe, prolonged mental pain can be worse than physical torture, and in many cases is. It's not a fringe opinion. This isn't just, well, this isn't right. It doesn't seem fair.
I love that you're reading this because in all the interviews we've done, no one has done this kind of homework. So you have no idea how much I appreciate what you're saying right now.
This data is supported by clinical evidence, neurobiology, and the lived experiences of thousands of survivors, psychological torture survivors. So there are a few points that identify and support this argument. First one is the duration and inescapability. Physical torture usually ends when you don't see it anymore. Mental torture never stops. And especially in your case, over 12 years, as long as the victim is alive and remembers, the brain keeps reliving it 24/7. Flashbacks, hypervigilance, nightmares. Speak on that.
It's the hypervigilance, because I think what people don't realize when it comes to a stalking case is that you are your own terrorizer, really, because they haven't laid hands on you yet. But in a lot of stalking cases, somebody's showing up to your house. I've heard from so many different women. They broke into their house. They're standing outside their work. They're physically there. We didn't have somebody physically there, but what I had, I'll just speak for me, is that I was torturing myself because I was trying to stay 3 or 4 steps ahead of somebody getting a hold of my child or getting a hold of me. And so I would conjure all the possible ways that could happen so that I could stay ahead of it, hopefully. But because I'm conjuring the ways he could get to me, I'm keeping myself in a mental prison. But you can't not. I mean, you could just say, oh, well, just don't think about all those. How can you not? I'm trying to keep somebody from getting their hands on my 5-year-old or my 6-year-old or my 8-year-old, my 10-year-old, my 18-year-old. You know what I mean? That's my job as a parent. I mean, for myself as well. But you're always thinking of how somebody might get you. I mentioned my friend Turk before, my publicist Turk, and he said that every time we ever went out on a red carpet, he was always looking to see if it was somebody in the crowd. Is somebody going to run up and try to stab her? Is somebody going to run up? Is somebody going to try to shoot her? Is somebody going to, everywhere we went publicly, he was on the alert. So you're making a prison of your own keeping, that hypervigilance. You have to. You can't just like, la, 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 la. We're always looking.
And what about your family? Were they also on hypervigilance? And
they were for a while, but then, like I said, it goes over 12 years and people get really lax because it's not happening to them, right? It's not that they're careless. It's not that they don't care. And they do when the big jump scares happen. And there were plenty of jump scares over the years, but, and then you call everybody and you tell them, oh my gosh, this is what happened. This is what happened. And everybody's like re-alerted again, right? But because it's not happening to them, they're not the ones hypervigilant. And again, no fault of their own.
No, there's that degree of
it's not happening to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they'd be super fearful for us when the jump scare would happen, but then go back to,
the regular lives.
Yeah, the regular lives.
The second point, destruction of the self. Physical wounds heal or the body dies. Severe psychological torture deliberately targets identity. It targets trust and the sense of a safe world. And in the docuseries, this really triggered me when you said, as a parent, it's your one job, right? To keep your child safe. And I think both men and women get it, but when you're a mom, moms get it.
Yeah.
Right? That mama bear thing is real.
It's real.
It's real.
It's why women can pull a car off a child. It's why women, the adrenaline can do all kinds of amazing things. But that adrenaline, when it's constantly pumping through your body, also causes sickness.
So
real physical disease.
How do you recapture that sense of safety for yourselves individually and as a mother and a daughter?
I don't know that we do. I don't know that.
I think unfortunately we just compartmentalize.
Yeah.
I think we already know too what it feels like to be so in it in every day or in week to week, and it's like at certain points it's like you just try to keep going and try to, like you said, like enjoy the best parts of life and the good moments and
be so grateful.
And just be really grateful. So I think safety, unfortunately, and security are like false hopes, unfortunately, to me. But not to be like ignore it, but like
Yeah.
You kind of got to ignore
You
it.
kind of, yeah. There's a certain part of you that just, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's not a thing for us. The safety security piece.
We can talk about the neurobiological damage. MRI and cortisol studies show that.
I love that you did this research. I'm telling you, you're the first person who's done. I don't know how many interviews we've done over the last 2 months, but a lot, and thankfully, gratefully, but you're the first person to have really done this kind of research.
I was just trying to think of how can people
This
take
is super
this
important
seriously.
because
Right?
whoever you're talking to right now that's listening, that's going through this same issue, will feel so comforted to know that they're not alone, that whatever like you're about to read right now, that it's legit. It's not just like, oh, she was scared.
Drama.
She's scared.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. A woman overreacting.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh, she's scared.
Psychological torture produces the same or greater shrinkage in the hippocampus and amygdala as physical torture, and often higher rates of complex PTSD. The brain, and you've said this, Eva, the brain literally rewires itself into a permanent survival mode that physical wounds alone rarely do. Now, this is from the National Library of Medicine. And the destruction of self, I need to cite these references of the Red Cross. Has done a lot of international work with torture survivors.
Oh, wow.
And so this is where their data is coming from. You're in a constant state of survival. Compartmentalized, but it has to bleed over into everything that you do.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's physically and emotionally.
It's not in a steel box compartmentalized.
No.
It's in a very
rickety
It's like,
hole-ridden box.
Yeah, when you're in kindergarten, you bring home those like crafts to your parents. You're like, look what I made, and it's popsicle sticks, and you're like, what am I gonna do with this? Like, we're not putting this on the mantle. Like, no one's putting the popsicle stick house you made out of Elmer's glue, and that's quite literally the box.
You're so right. It's in a little popsicle stick box.
That you like half
It's a
painted
fragile
blue.
state.
Yeah.
It's a very fragile state.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do people do to step out of that survival mode for just a moment? What can you recommend or offer?
I mean, I think they've also done a lot of studies about how journaling rewires the brain and how meditation rewires the brain, and prayer, obviously, and meditation and prayer and therapy, a whole bunch of therapy. But
Good
all
therapists.
the really great therapists.
That's trial and error.
Yeah, trauma therapist, and those things are proven to rewire the brain for the better. Meditation / prayer, I consider them one and the same, and journaling and things that actually teach your brain to be in the positive, teach your brain to be in the now, teach your brain to, I think those things are super helpful. They have been for us.
No visible evidence equals no validation. We touched on this earlier. Physical scars prove to the world, and sometimes to the victim. Women don't take things seriously, but if they can see a physical, oh, there's a bruise, okay.
We're also easy to gaslight.
Absolutely.
So it's like, oh, you're okay. Like, he didn't get you. Wasn't in your house. He didn't physically. You're okay. Look how lucky you are. You're so lucky. Other women, they broke into their house. They actually, got raped or killed. Look how lucky you are.
And that diminishes your experience.
Now I'm lucky.
Now I'm lucky.
That's the problem. It
Yeah.
diminishes the experience, the torture.
Right. As if it doesn't count.
The secondary invalidation deepens the injury and is itself a recognized aggravating factor in trauma psychology. Now, this is according to the Convention Against Torture, which is a UN human rights treaty adopted in 1984. Kaya this no visible evidence equals no validation, which pretty much tells a woman, you're wrong, you're overreacting to this. It's not a big deal. When you spoke up and you didn't want to, you had mentioned in the docuseries, you didn't want to say anything, which I totally got, then changed your mind because you felt you needed to say something. Talk about that moment of why.
Yeah, for me, like you said, I did not want to speak. I was really adamant about not saying anything. I think also because I hadn't said something for so long. I didn't ever talk about it. So I wasn't comfortable even letting it come out of its box to be at the forefront for myself. But he got to speak first, and he spoke off like on a Zoom TV. And it was something he said. He said something along the lines of, I hope you can forget, and I hope you can just let this go and move on with your lives. And I hope, you just let it go and live. Like he was being like an aspirational poster. Just, let go, move on. And I just was enraged because I was like, there's this shadowy, monstrous figure I have concocted in my mind for the last 12 years and had to deal with is now on a TV as a human being, as a real human being, and is devaluing and diminishing everything I had gone through and saying to just move on like it's nothing. Like I scraped my knee and needed to just get up and keep going. And so that's when I looked at my mom and I was like, I need to say something. And I just really let everything out. So in a way it was amazing closure, but I feel like it was also one of the first times I was stepping into a stronger part of myself and being able to stand my ground and speak about it and feel good about it. Which was
Take your
great.
power back.
Yeah, definitely.
It had to have felt like a healing.
Yeah.
The beginning.
The beginning.
The beginning
Yes,
of that.
yes, I agree.
Here's what healing can look like, and that's using your voice.
Yes, I completely agree.
This is fascinating. Intergenerational transmission. And to your case in particular, children of Holocaust survivors, Cambodian genocide survivors, and even stalking victims show epigenetic changes and higher rates of anxiety and depression. Physical torture rarely transmits this across generations. Terror-based trauma does. And this is from the Library of Medicine, an article from the National Library of Medicine. Generational trauma is a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And when you put it into the context of psychological torture, how do you begin to unpack that?
I told you I don't want kids.
There's that.
I keep trying to talk her to
I already have if I've already gotten my generational trauma, I do not need to pass this on.
Well, the
to some
buck
kid.
stops with you.
It will. It will end with me.
No, I mean not by not having kids.
No, I think so.
No, I need a grandchild.
I think you should get a dog.
Do it for your mother. My mom said the same thing.
dog.
Just have a child for me. I will take care of the child.
I would
I
take
know.
care
I'm
of
like,
the baby.
sounds like you should have had 2 kids.
Drop it off
Or 3 kids.
I just like to see
That's
what happens.
crazy. Sounds like a you problem, not my problem.
It is. I need a little one.
No. But yeah, I mean, I deal with anxiety and depression, and I have for a long time, and that's definitely been one of my main therapy focuses, or my mental health issues. And I did, it's funny. I thought for a long time it is generationally passed, like on both sides, but I feel like it didn't really ignite until I was a teenager. And then when I really got to the root of it, it was obviously like a lot based on everything I had gone through and everything, like you said, even though when you compartmentalize, it seeps through to different ways. You might not be thinking about it every day, but it's still coming out in different ways. And for me, that's how it showed for me, was in paranoia, anxiety, panic attacks, depressive spin outs, emotional shifts. But yeah, I mean, I feel like then it's almost a heavier load because you're not only trying to undo the patterns from your life in childhood or everything you go through, but you're also undoing, from your parents. I always thought it was really interesting that they say that when your mom was pregnant with you, you also had me inside you at that time.
Right.
Because women are
the genetic
born
makeup
with, but like women are born with all the eggs they'll ever have. So at your fully developedness, as a baby in your mother's womb, you also were carrying eggs, which means you were carrying
your
me,
egg.
which is crazy, which is very cool. But at the same time, it's like, so whatever
you're right.
traumas you're going through in that
physiologically,
body,
passing on,
in one moment, all together, which is so crazy.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Thanks for that.
Thanks for that one.
One thing I can impart to you, because I've been giving this idea of generational trauma a lot of thought past year or so. I'm older, and I never gave this concept.
But I feel
the time of day.
I feel like those are the things that start to come when we're older, though, too.
I suppose, but I wish I had thought about it, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Because, when it comes to releasing generational trauma, it all boils down to the question of, who do I want to be? What kind of life do I want for myself? What kind of person do I want to be for myself? I want
without this.
I want to be kind, or I want to be funny, or I want to be generous, or I want to be. When you start,
I don't want to be triggered.
Right.
You want to stop being triggered by the
I
things
be
that shouldn't trigger, that are not even yours.
Right.
They're not even yours to be triggered by.
Right.
And I think those are the biggest pieces. Like, how do I de-trigger myself? How do I get rid of the buttons? Because the buttons aren't even mine. Why am I reacting? I don't want to live in reaction. I want to live in just action. I want to just live, but I don't want to live in a reactive state. Because that means that anybody and everybody has power over me.
Right.
All they have to do is push that button and I lose my crap because I can't control. So now these people just have control over whether I'm happy or not. No.
It's that concept of
why
life isn't happening to me.
Right.
But that's if you do. If
life is happening for you.
Right. You're happening to your life.
Yeah.
And that comes from the choices you make and the decisions and the beliefs.
But we make these choices out of reaction.
Right. Which is not your life.
No.
Anymore.
No.
Yeah. And that's part of the rewiring.
Yeah.
It's a muscle. It's an emotional and spiritual muscle that if you flex on a regular basis, it does get stronger.
Yeah, you're so right.
It's all about putting that into practice too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like I'll catch myself change a belief and a pattern, but it's when I have to change the habit. Because more than anything, it's the habit that you put in. And then when you start becoming more aware of it, you catch it. And then you're like, oh, okay. Okay, I didn't mean to do that. Like, I know better now. Okay, I see how it came at me and how I reacted to it, how I normally would, but I know I don't want to. And then it's like the next time you get that opportunity and you try again until that new practice becomes your actual habit.
The new default.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one. Clinical outcome data. Purely psychological torture survivors have higher rates of completed suicide than survivors of physical torture alone. This is from Amnesty International and the work that they've done. Complex PTSD is harder to treat and has lower recovery rates than simple PTSD from physical injury. You've already touched on how meditation, prayer, journaling helps to rewire. I also believe that you making the decision to do this docuseries
It was very cathartic.
is also part of the healing process. And it had to have been one of the most excruciating things.
It was. We had our therapist on speed dial that month that we were shooting. We didn't realize how much would come up for us. I mean, I know that sounds silly because, of course, we're in it. We're knee deep in, we're eyeball deep in it. But there was so much that Kaya and I didn't discuss with each other. We're not at the dinner table saying, asking each other things like,
How are you feeling today about being stalked?
Well, no. How did you feel? What were your worst imaginings of how this could turn out?
Yeah.
I was never going to ask her that, but we were getting asked questions like that, by the person who would put together all the interview questions. And I never knew that. I mean, one of her thoughts about what could happen ended up in the documentary. Coming home from school and finding me, like dead in the kitchen with somebody waiting for her to get home. You know what I mean? And I didn't know that. I didn't know what was going on in her head, what she was making up could possibly happen. And like I said, you make this prison of your own. It's a prison of your own making because you're creating all these possible scenarios that you want to be able to run from, escape from, where all the escape hatches are, right? Around you constantly. I never said to her, how did you feel the first time you knew, what's going through your mind when you found out what was in the letters, we just didn't ask each other these in-depth questions. So, and I'd never been asked those in-depth questions. So it was coming up in a whole new way for us, but it was coming up and out. So that was really good. And that was really healing.
So I want to thank you both for, I had to give this a lot of thought too, for choosing love over hatred, for choosing courage over fear, and for choosing strength over helplessness.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much going on in the world. And at the end of the day, we have a choice. We do have a choice about the kind of life we want to lead. And you've made some very difficult choices in your life together. But these choices can be healing for so many, can start people on a healing journey, can start people just putting them into an awareness of this isn't good. This isn't a good thing.
But that they're not alone. And
they're not alone.
Even though, as you say that, and I'm hearing it, and it feels good to hear, when somebody tells you you're strong, you're brave, you're courageous, you're all the things. But in reality, I think what I want to impart to anybody else who's going through this, as fulfilling as it feels to hear those words, I think we also know that it's not really a choice. Like we didn't choose to be brave. We didn't choose to be courageous. We didn't choose to be strong in the moment. And like as a mom, you're a bear. Like you said, you're a mama bear. So there isn't really a choice. You just do. And I think for anybody listening, take in the words that you just said, like allow that you are strong, allow that you are brave, allow that you are courageous, because I hear it and I don't, and I'm not, it's not sinking in not because you didn't just say it in the most beautiful and loving way, but because I didn't have a choice in the matter. It didn't feel like strength in the moment. It didn't feel like bravery in those moments, and it didn't feel like courageousness in those moments. It just felt like what must be done to get up in the morning and move forward. And I think a lot as women, just in general, just with what we deal with in the world that men don't have to deal with. Not putting down men. Men have got their own problems. But I'm just saying, whether you have a stalker or you don't walk into a covered garage without knowing exactly who's in that covered garage with you, and without having your keys in your hand, in your knuckle like this, ready to do like a throat jab if you must. You know what I mean? Or an eye. But we don't walk unaware in this world
Ever.
as women. Ever. So, and that's courageous and it's brave and it's strong, but we don't feel that in the moment. We actually feel scared. We feel threatened, even if the threat is we feel hyper vigilant
and helpless
in the moment. So, maybe those things are things that men get to choose. I don't know. I think it's just something that we are, and that maybe men choose to be brave, choose to be strong, choose. I think women just have to be.
That's a whole other show.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Seriously, seriously,
Yeah,
because
the series.
I thought the very same thing earlier. You know, as a woman, we walk. I don't think men understand just how much fear women carry with them. It's in our purse. It's part of.
It's generational.
You know, it's in our makeup.
It's definitely
it's like how we
generational.
dress. There's that all gets
And will you get blamed for whatever happens to you?
Absolutely. And you know, there is a physicality part of it. Men physically are just stronger human beings.
Right. It's not that they can't be attacked. It's not that they can't be robbed. It's not that they can't be sexually assaulted by another man or whatever. Those things could happen, but the probability is a lot more minuscule.
Right. Right. But at the end of the day, women are so much more enormously stronger than any creature on this planet.
We are. That's why I said we don't choose it. We just are.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Where can people find you on the socials and
I'm like, don't find me.
Don't do that. Please don't find me.
Do you want people to find you on the socials?
You don't need to find me.
Yeah. No more. Everyone can mind their business. Actually.
There you go.
I'm Instagram, Kaya Travels. What are you?
And your TikTok, you've got a big TikTok following.
Yeah, I guess it's Kaya Cal. That's my TikTok.
Kaya Cal.
If you
Yeah,
feel
she's
like
got a
it.
really funny TikTok. It's actually really good. And I am at Eva LaRue on Instagram, and then same on Facebook.
Okay.
I have a TikTok, but nobody really cares about it. Yeah,
a
my
lot.
TikTok is
It's a
really
lot
good.
to manage.
I mostly scroll on TikTok. I don't really like contribute so much. I just
I'm really encouraging people, if they haven't seen my Nightmare Stalker, the Eva LaRue Story,
Paramount
on
Plus.
Paramount Plus, to take a look at it. It's not an easy watch, but it's an important watch. And
if you're a true crime fan, it's a
right,
yeah,
right, absolutely.
it's super informative. Yeah,
It's super informative. It's educational. It seems so flippant to say that, but
yeah.
it's very educational.
But it's interesting because the soap fans, because women being the biggest demographic there, it's also the same demographic for true crime. It's mostly women in that same demographic. So soap fans tend to cross over and be true crime fans.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's mostly women that are true crime fans. It's like 90%. Isn't that crazy?
That is.
Of women like 18 to 54. Yeah. It's just the demo. Wow. Probably because we're the ones who are the victims of the most crimes. So we're kind of fascinated with what's going on.
Who, what, where, when, how.
How it happened.
Yeah.
How. How did they get away with it this time?
And justice. Finding the justice in it.
But also, I think women are really good at minutia. You know what I mean? We're really good. We really, control is maybe a bad word, but we are the keepers of the communal network, the networking, the fiber of our families and just outside of our families. So I think because we know when you start to put together the puzzle of how somebody was murdered, how somebody was having an affair, how somebody was, I think we kind of know those. We're the first to know those things in our community, in our little fabric. So I think we're fascinated with the fabric of the true crime.
And to be aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be aware
We're
of what's going on.
very aware of the small things and the personality.
The gut feelings.
The gut feelings.
I feel like there's so many crime cases where they're
Yeah.
You know, and it's
I just
whether
knew it.
it's either they act on it or they didn't act on it.
Right.
And that's why something went a certain way.
Women's intuition. It's a real
It's a
thing.
real thing.
It's a powerful thing, that gut sense.
Yep.
You don't even question it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
again.
you. Thank you so much.
We're like, thank you.
Can we come back next week?
Another thing.
We have other things to talk
Yeah.
about. Let's come back.
This has been great.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you so
This
much.
has been really, really great.